From schoolboy to soldier is the personal account of the short but meaningful life of a young man named Edward Stanley Abbott, who dreamed of being a writer, but it wasn't until now, 150 years later, that his story was brought to light. And the man behind this is Quincy Abbott, Stanley's grandnephew. Welcome to Connecticut Style.
Glad to be here.
This is a pretty interesting story. Tell me why you decided to write the book.
I found the materials, his correspondence and journals, partly in my attic and partly in the attics that have been donated to Yale and Harvard and Library of Congress. The family never threw anything out after 1800.
Oh, wow. So you knew some of the stories, or this all came from finding these artifacts?
It all came from finding the artifacts.
So what was the process for you? Because I'm sure this was tedious, to say the least.
The process was first compiling everything and putting it in chronological order, finding someone to type it, and then figuring out what I had. And that's when it blew my mind,
Sure.
that I had something here that was more interesting just to people beyond the family.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did you know Stanley wanted to be an author? Was this something you found out, or was it through family history?
Before he went away to Phillips Exeter, he sat on the beach and dreamed of what he wanted to do with his life, and he wanted to be an author.
That's great. Well, let's talk a little bit about Stanley's schoolboy days. What was he like?
He was a typical teenager. He had a hard time growing up. He had all the teenage angst that many have, and this was aggravated by his father losing his job, so they moved in with Grandpa in another city. You know, that's a double whammy for a teenager.
Yeah, that's difficult. We're looking at a picture of him on the screen right now. Did he have brothers and sisters?
Yes, he had 3 older brothers, 1 older sister, and a younger brother who was my grandfather.
Okay. Now, where did he go to school?
He went to Phillips Exeter to prepare himself for Harvard, and 1 year at Harvard. At Phillips Exeter, he had the pleasure of going to a rally one day right after the Cooper Union speech when Lincoln was there.
Wow.
And he describes Lincoln as that lean, awkward man who has so much to say and is so good. And
that must have been interesting to find.
Yeah, it was.
Let's talk about the reasons he enlisted in the war.
He wanted to preserve the Union. He didn't want the United States to be like the countries of Europe, which fought with one another in a small geographical space. And he envisioned a country with hundreds of millions of people from ocean to ocean.
Okay. Now, you mentioned there were some struggles. His father lost his job, but beyond that, what else was he facing?
He had a real struggle to get the position in the Army. He wanted to be an officer in the regular Army. And he struggled with Edwin's, his older brother's help, to try to get in. He didn't succeed, so he enlisted as a private in Maine, and within 4 months was promoted to lieutenant.
But he died in battle. Tell us what happened.
He died in battle. It was the Battle of Gettysburg, July 2nd, the second day, which is 150 years ago tomorrow.
Wow, sure.
And he died from
we have this. Explain to me what we're looking at here. We'll put it up on the screen.
This is a musket ball that was picked up by his brother Edwin after the battle when he went down to Gettysburg to bring Stanley's body home.
Oh.
And he said it was just like the one that had entered his lung, which led to his death.
Wow. Would you say there was anything overly compelling, or what really grabbed you when you went through these artifacts? Any particular story? Or just in general?
What grabbed me was that Stanley not only wanted to be a writer, but he was a writer.
Sure.
And this was not with rewriting on the computer or anything else. It was what he scribbled off on the battlefield in letters or in his own journal. And that's what really struck me about him.
Sure. Now, were there correspondences? Did he keep in touch with somebody particular, or?
Well, he kept in touch with Brother Edwin, who was providing the money to finance him while he was going through school and all. And in his early days, he wrote to a cousin, a female cousin, at Abbott Hill in Wilton, New Hampshire. And then later he wrote to a cousin who lived in Maine, and he'd renewed his acquaintance with her while he was there. And there's a mystery
I feel there's another story
There's a
coming there,
mystery
right?
concerning that relationship, which you can find in the last chapter of the book.
We'll have to grab it. All right, you have 2 upcoming book signings. Quincy, July 6th from 12 to 2 in Colchester. In fact, let's put that information up on the screen. And Sunday, July 7th from 12:30 to 2. You could see it right there at the Nathan Hale Homestead and Farmers Market up in Coventry. The name of the book, again, is From Schoolboy to Soldier. Thank you so much for sharing all the information with us.
My delight.
All right, coming up next, it looks and tastes like cookie dough, but instead is packed with protein. Joanna Siciliano shares her recipe, but first, take a look at this.